Hello, and welcome to my channel, The Entrepreneurial Mindset. My name is Jay Berman, and today's presentation is called Essential CEO Concepts, Episode 2. The concepts in this video come from my book, Is Your Business Idea a Good Investment?, which is available on Amazon.com, Kindle version only. Go to the Amazon search bar, select books, type in my name, Jay Berman, scroll to my book to purchase. And by doing so, you support my channel and my work in entrepreneurship and business education. Thank you. So again, just to remind everybody that the CEO stands for Chief Executive Officer. So if you are starting the business, you are the Chief Executive Officer. And so today I'm going to talk about the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what are strengths? Strengths are well-developed core competencies that enable a company to compete in its industry. So unless you have these strengths, these core competencies, it's going to be very difficult for your small business to compete in the industry that you have chosen. So let's start off with the first one. It's a clear corporate strategy. So a strength that some of these amazing companies like Apple, Amazon.com, Walmart, they all have a very, very clear corporate strategy, very much a long-term plan on how they're going to compete in their industry. The next one is a strong financial position to fund profitable ideas. Certainly companies that have billions of dollars in the bank have a very, very strong ability to fund new products, new ideas. They offer another strength is being able to offer better product quality and value relative to rivals. They simply offer better products pretty consistently, and they offer good value to their customers. They have a very strong brand name or company reputation due to superior marketing, advertising, and selling skills. And again, this comes from a strong financial position, because unless you have a lot of money to market, to advertise, it's going to be very difficult to sell your products. In other words, a strength is what I would call marketing firepower. Another strength would be product innovation via research and development, and then being able to improve your production and manufacturing processes, otherwise being able to maintain consistent product quality. Continuing with strengths, perhaps another strength could be lower costs than competitors. They have a strong supply chain management capabilities. They have strong customer service capabilities. Perhaps they don't rely on AI to handle customer complaints. They rely more on human beings, employees. They have a strong human resource policies to attract, train, and mentor, and retain a competent and loyal workforce. And then another strength is alliance with other firms that provide access to technology and perhaps profitable geographic markets. So the opposite of strengths obviously would be weaknesses, which are underdeveloped or perhaps non-existent core competencies. And when you're starting off your business, you most likely do have a lot of weaknesses that eventually, over time could develop into strengths. But initially, when you're just starting out as a new entrepreneur, just realize that, you're going to be at a disadvantage because you do have some major weaknesses to overcome. The first one would be having no clear corporate strategy, that you don't have a grand plan on how to compete in the industry that you want to compete in. Most small businesses severely lack funds, or they have a weak balance sheet. In other words, they have too much debt, or they rely on debt in order to fund their business. They have limited access to financial resources like banks to grow the business and pursue promising opportunities. That's a major weakness for many small businesses, because most banks will not lend to you unless you've been in business for at least 3 or 4 years. In other words, you have a history of profits and being able to pay back demonstrate that you can pay back the loan. You might have higher costs of goods sold relative to competitors. So in other words, it's costing you too much to make goods. Your good and service has features and benefits that are simply inferior to those of rivals. In other words, you haven't developed your product, your good or service that is actually better than what your competitors are offering. Perhaps you have too narrow a product line relative to rivals. Perhaps you're relying on one product where you really should have a slew of products, a diversity of products. You have a weak brand image or reputation because not many people know who you are. You don't have too many sales. You don't have too many customers. Perhaps you have a weak dealer network than key rivals. Maybe you're slow in introducing innovative products. And then perhaps, if you do have employees, you have poor leadership resulting in high employee turnover. Now, yes, there are companies like Walmart and Amazon that are notorious for high employee turnover. But then again, they always have people who want those jobs. But if you're a small business and you have a high employee turnover, you probably don't have the luxury of having plenty of applicants that want the jobs that you're offering, unlike a Walmart or Amazon.com. So what are some of the opportunities that are available to big and small companies? Perhaps the first one is new geographic markets. It could be both domestic or international. Suppose you are a local brand in your state and you want to expand to other states or neighboring states. That would be an example of domestic markets. Or perhaps you want to sell outside the United States to countries in other, like Europe or Africa or Asia. Perhaps add more products to your product line. So for example, if you sell soap, maybe add a product line for shampoo and lotions, those type of things. Perhaps you can cut costs by not compromising the quality of your products. And maybe now this might be the purview of much larger companies where they acquire rival firms or companies that they have promising technology and promising products. So what are threats? Threats are dangers to the company's business model. These are threats that could put you out of business. Number one could be the overall economic slowdown. If the economy is experiencing high unemployment, high inflation, people don't have the purchasing power to buy your products. There's increased intensity of competition among industry rivals, which may lower profit margins. So your company may not be able to generate a lot of profits because you have a lot of competition. Perhaps there's a slowdown in market growth due to likely entry of new competitors that you never thought about. Maybe these competitors are introducing new or substitute products that might be better, cheaper. And then, of course, there's the growing bargaining power of customers and suppliers that can reduce profits and reduce prices for those companies in that particular industry. People nowadays have a lot more access to consumer information, consumer reviews. So the power is now have shifted, to consumers who have a tremendous amount of knowledge at their fingertips by accessing the internet, AI programs to help them make purchasing decisions. Other threats could be a shift in buyer needs and preferences away from the company's products. They just don't feel like they meet your particular good or service. There could be adverse demographic changes that threaten to curtail demand for the company's goods or services. So like, for example, if you're a wedding planner or you're a wedding photographer, the trend right now is for young people to delay marriage because of, difficulty of finding a job, paying back their debts, particularly student loans. So young people are delaying getting married. So that could be a problem if you are a wedding photographer, if you're in the wedding business, like a wedding planner or even a catering service. You could be vulnerable to unfavorable industry driving forces, such as new technology surpassing old technology. There could be restrictive trade policies on the part of foreign governments. And of course, there could be costly new government regulations and taxes that could curtail your profit margins. And that's all I have for today. Any questions or comments, use the comments section below. Subscribe to my channel for more educational content about entrepreneurship. And thank you for watching.